President Obama will meet Theresa May and other European leaders today on the final day of his farewell tour. The meeting comes as Germany moves to harden its stance to the UK's exit from the European Union. Well, Sky's political editor Faisal Islam is in Berlin, where the meeting is taking place. A very good morning to you, Faisal. What can we expect to take place today?
Well, your 5 European leaders have arrived. We're just waiting for President Obama, who may well arrive in the next couple of minutes, at the German Chancellery. This is a meeting of the Quint plus one of those groupings of international leaders, primarily to talk about security, diplomacy, Syria, attitude to Russia. What number 10 told us is that Mrs May will be pressing for continued condemnation. I think we've got some pictures of the Prime Minister arriving here at the Chancellery just a few moments ago. She'll be pressing for continued condemnation of the ongoing offensive of the Syrian regime in Aleppo. Will clearly push how we resolve the situation in Syria. We must be united in calling for a sustained ceasefire. The real question mark, though, is will the sanctions on Russia for the Ukraine be extended beyond January, when we're expecting them to expire? President Obama would have liked that to happen. What will Donald Trump's attitude be? He's the president now, President Obama, but Donald Trump might have a different attitude. So will the European leaders decide to kind of push ahead with them and dare Donald Trump to cancel them when he comes into office? Fascinating interplay in terms of the interregnum between President Obama and President Trump. But this is also a very important meeting for Theresa May, Prime Minister, and the Chancellor. A bilateral meeting will be happening after the more general meeting. And quite intriguingly, on the eve of that, the Finance Minister of Germany, Wolfgang Schäuble, has done an interview claiming that the exit fee that Britain will have to pay might continue for many years to come. This is what he said in that interview. Until the UK's exit is complete, Britain will certainly have to fulfil its commitments. Possibly there will be some commitments lasting beyond the exit, even in part to 2030. Also, we cannot grant any generous rebates. This is a reference to a figure which is floating around European diplomats, that even to start exit negotiations, Britain might have to agree to a 30 to 40 billion euro payment of our full budget commitments to the end of 2020 and a share of pensions. It sounds like a kind of version of Hotel California, where you have to pay a fortune just to leave. I'm sure that will surprise many British voters who thought we were going to get 350 million a week back. I think we've probably got the US president is about to arrive. So that will be a surprise. I'm sure it'll anger many Leave campaigners. But the contours of that debate between the UK and the EU, it will be being discussed by Theresa May and the Chancellor of Germany, a vital interlocutor in that debate. We are just about to get President Obama arriving here to those important discussions. Remember, President Obama met Chancellor Merkel yesterday, was fawning about the special relationship between him and her. Chancellor Merkel, seen as a kind of holder of the baton, carrier of the flame, as President Obama expressed very subtly his own doubts about President Trump, who will replace him. He argued that Britain should not, that the world should not take for granted things like the rule of law, things like the service of democracy. Here is the famous beast that President Obama rides in, one of the last rides of the 44th US president in Europe, choosing his farewell tour, choosing to take his farewell message to Europe to Berlin. So he will be meeting with 5 European leaders here at the Chancellery. He had those very welcome talks with Chancellor Merkel yesterday, where he all but advised Germans to carry on voting for Chancellor Merkel, but said, there we go, there's the beast. But he suggested that Chancellor Merkel was a very effective leader of Germany. She herself could face, if she stands, and we expect she will stand, elections here in Germany in late 2017. So an important meeting, Gamal, for the outgoing President of the United States and European leaders talking about security, talking about the attitude of the new White House towards Russia. Will they extend these Russian sanctions that are due to expire at the end of January? What will be the posture of the transatlantic relationship with a new attitude in the White House and a new set of advisors that seem a fair departure from this President Obama?
And we're staying on the shot with you, Faisal Islam, because we are expecting the vehicle to pull up any second now with the President in there. And of course, as you were saying then, this is a big coup for Angela Merkel, of course, herself facing an election later on in the next 12 months. And himself saying yesterday that if he was German, if he had a vote, he would be voting for her. And I suppose an opportunity for him to I don't know, tip of the hat to liberals, to the left around the world?
Yeah, there was a bit of that. Of course, Angela Merkel is a centre-right politician, but yes, I think that there was a certain sense in which he was investing in her his hopes, because he sees in his own country that they've chosen a very different path after his presidency. There he is. There's the president arriving at the Chancellery. He'll go and meet those 5 leaders. It was an extraordinary love-in yesterday between President Obama and Chancellor Merkel. In days gone by, you might have expected the goodbye of a US president in Europe to have been in London, but these days it's in Berlin. It's in Berlin because Germany is seen as the power as it is within the European Union. But President Obama also chose to mention those Brexit negotiations. He said the whole world needs smooth and orderly Brexit negotiations between Chancellor Merkel, Brussels and the United Kingdom. Those will continue in private with a bilateral meeting between the German Chancellor and the Prime Minister later this afternoon. After this meeting, this wider meeting on security is held here at the German Chancellery.